Well, a little chuckle here as we begin the Resident podcast for the 7th of August, 2026. Thank you for joining us for our news review of the week with Natasha Donn, who writes many of the stories over at the Portugal Resident. Please go see the headlines at portugalresident.com. How are you this morning, Natasha?
Good, really good. It's such a beautiful day.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And you've had your morning constitution and
We've
ready
already
for,
been
ready
in
for
the
the news.
water, yeah,
Have
with the dogs
you?
all swimming. Really, just so fantastic. It's
What a
always
lovely
worth getting up
picture.
early.
You swim with the dogs?
I swim with the dogs. Well, when I say I swim with the dogs swim with me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Fantastic.
I go in and then they follow me and they all just go round and round and round as if to say, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we doing
Come on,
this?
Mum. Yes, let's get home
Come
for breakfast.
on.
Right. Okay. Well, let's have a look at this. Is quite the pivot for us conversationally this morning. This is an update on the many cocaine-related stories that there seem to be in the paper this week. What's going on?
Basically, it's been sort of cocaine fest. You know, we're having all these summer fests, aren't we? And this week has been the cocaine fest, because actually in the Alentejo, I have to say, in the rather sort of more snooty beaches, I don't think that will. I think that might have helped police, actually, because I think there's less chance that people actually made off with the bales of cocaine. But there was a sort of inference that they're not sure how many bales had washed up on the Alentejo coast because people had already got to them.
Oh.
Yeah, and I know an entire family who owe their education to a massive bale of something that washed up. I'm talking 30 odd years ago.
This sounds like a Netflix series. Oh, yes, it was. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, the father kept it, and then he sold it off bit by bit, and he paid for 3 kids' education.
Well, I never.
Amazing. So anyway, there was an inference that people had made off. But anyway, it's been cocaine fest, and apart from the normal traffic of boats coming in and being thwarted, we've had some incredible hauls.
Yes.
The latest one, the biggest, which was a ship that left Panama, big ship. I mean, long. I think 265 meters or something. And, or maybe I've got that wrong and it's 265 feet. I just don't know. But anyway,
we won't quibble over that. I mean, let's say a big ship. Let's say a big ship.
And then there it says 4 tons, but that was then later updated to 5 tons. So this huge ship came in, and it was basically carrying massive amount of cocaine. Then obviously the PJ had got wind of this through MAOC, which is the sort of central nerve center in Lisbon that is also in touch with another drug enforcement agency in London, which is in touch with drug enforcement agencies in America. So, as it goes on. But in this case, the Army, I'm sorry, not the Army, sorry, the Navy and the Air Force were involved.
Good heavens.
And they got this boat about 1,000 something kilometers off the coast, so some way off, and they escorted it in, because you see, the idea is that these boats don't come to shore with all the cocaine. They stay off and they get picked up by little boats.
Wow. Oh, these are what are known as the narco boats,
many
of which are spotted around. But of course,
that part of the process will have been thwarted by the PJ. They took it into siege, and then it was thoroughly searched, and all the cocaine was found. The sort of really dark side of this, because of course this is making a huge dent in traffickers' profit margins. I mean, this year alone, I think the PJ has managed to confiscate over 28 tons of cocaine, which is more than they confiscated in the whole of 2025. So their information is getting better and better. Yes. And so this latest haul involved 3 arrests, but only one of them was apparently somebody that they thought was actually actively involved in the smuggling. 2 of them appear maybe just to have been people who were going along for the ride because they were illegal and they would have dropped off in Portugal and hopefully, disappeared into Europe without papers.
Wow.
But this man who was thought to be involved with the operation ended up dead in his jail cell.
This is like the plot line of a very dramatic drug-based movie, but this is real
Well,
life. This is what
this is
happened.
the
Yeah.
thing, but this is the reason we have these dramatic drugs-based movies is because they're mirroring real life. I mean, it's
Indeed.
really dark, really hard stuff. And whether the interesting thing about this this death is that obviously they don't have or not obviously, perhaps they don't have CCTV cameras in the cells, but they do within the corridors leading to the cells. So that suggests that, and this is in the PJ headquarters. It's not in a general prison.
Right.
There's an investigation going. That's a very dark part of this. But the whole week, I mean, I can't tell you, there were beaches here closed off.
Really?
People I know, and I said, it was actually, my son knows a lot about these things. And I said, darling, why was Boca de Rio closed off? He said, oh, well, because they got wind of a haul coming in. They just closed it off and they were waiting for, I think they found actually a great big truck as well parked there. And they knew the truck would have been taking the cocaine.
Good heavens.
On.
Right.
So that was done. And then there was also somewhere further up north a marvelous situation where they found a massive truck with its sort of bottom in the water of a river, and in the truck was a huge narco launch.
Right. Okay. Ready for action.
Everybody had gone, so obviously they were rumbled, or they were told to abandon ship because they knew something was happening.
Yes.
So it's been real cocaine fest.
Yes, which we should point out is not the name of a festival in Portugal before we attract the wrong sort of attention. But yes, absolutely, the news flooded with news of the drug and its importation, and thwarted, as you say, importation into Portugal. Yeah. The PJ doing a great job, we should add.
They're doing a fantastic job. And again, this is it all boils down to the fact that all this has to be done under enormous secrecy because of the sort of tentacular nature of these criminal networks. And so, hats off to them because they've really done a fantastic job.
Yes, whilst their erstwhile colleague is still facing heat in his new ministerial job.
Yeah, but
what's going on there, Natasha? Quick update.
I feel all this persecution for things that are honestly at the end of it probably totally explainable. Yes. I think that it smells of an ulterior motive that people want him out for their own reasons.
Yes.
Not because he's incompetent in any way.
No, that's politics, isn't it? And perhaps he should have sit down and have a long lunch with you with a briefing on how to manage the media. That seems to be the worst part of his problem, is his approach.
I don't know if he cares, because yesterday he was...
Maybe that's a problem. Yes,
no, but actually, why should he care? Because the media's been, I feel, in this case, the media's going overboard with sort of stupidity. I mean, there's one particular channel who has a crime correspondent who speaks as if he's got a peg on his nose, and he makes it all sound so dark. Even if he said somebody was seen going to the lavatory, it would somehow sound suspicious.
Yes, a murder inquiry suddenly.
Yes. Right, yes. So, and he keeps coming on and going on and on, and it's so boring and pathetic, and you think, oh my God, grow up.
Have we not got something better to focus on? Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so and Luis Neves gave an interview yesterday because they were saying, oh, now he's being investigated by the what's it called, the accounts court? No, I think they call it something else. But anyway, he is being investigated for perceived irregularities of the PJ, not of himself. And then he came on and he said, yeah, well, actually, I asked for that. I asked for that just to get rid of all this talk.
Yes, very good.
He sounds as if he's in control and not really getting too flustered. I hope so, because I just hate seeing people. I don't like seeing anyone, as I said last week.
Yes, the unfairness of it.
Putin or Trump. I don't like seeing anyone persecuted.
Yes, but perhaps part of any media training he would have would be that things do move on, and they will, I'm sure. Somebody else will feel the heat soon. Chega have been courting and creating heat. Before we talk about them and their terrible sort of poisonous social media just recently in this last week. Completely unnecessary. Let's have a look at CCTV. You mentioned CCTV within the PJ and the jail system. It's funny, isn't it? With surveillance, it's as though it's good for the people, but not so good for the for the politicians and establishment. And they don't want it, do they?
Yeah, but I just feel this is so short-sighted. I feel like our politicians either live in a little bubble or they find themselves too important to understand. Look at what's been happening in England. Look how many politicians have been killed because they haven't been properly protected. Sometimes they've been killed they've been killed in situations where they should have been protected. So I think any kind of protection that's offered, extra protection, should be taken. But they say, oh no, because it might impinge on our freedom of movement.
Really? Freedom of movement. How about that? Well, normally when CCTV and surveillance and digital identification is being suggested for the masses, it's like, well, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear.
Exactly. And in this case, they talked about they wanted to be able to talk among themselves in privacy. I mean, what the heck?
It's as if they want one rule for themselves and other rules for other people.
But also CCTV doesn't have to be so intrusive that it catches your every word.
Yes, well, indeed. Absolutely. I mean, there are other devices for that. Your phone's doing that, so they needn't worry too much about a camera doing it in a hallway.
But in this case, obviously, the reason this has come up again is because of. Do you remember last week we talked about the so-called break-in in the Chega offices?
Yes.
And do you remember I said it was obviously staged, and you and Paul kind of a bit reacted as if to say, "Come on,
allegedly."
Come on. But it has. Because I mean, I just could see that
you called it.
I felt
that
it was staged. Yeah. But now it's coming out more and more that everybody thinks it was staged.
Yes.
And I caught this marvelous old man. I can't remember his name, but he was an interior minister at the time of Cavaco Silva, and he comes on. He's a commentator in the later hours, and I don't know why I was still up, but I caught an interview. He was talking to a news reader or a news anchor that was so beautifully made up. She looked like the most beautiful Barbie doll in the world.
Natasha, if I may interrupt, this is a very European thing. We see this in France and we see it on Portuguese TV. A supermodel of a female presenter.
Yeah.
And then some old guy with a Brillo pad hairdo talking to her. The combination of the old philosopher and the pretty young thing reading the news.
But the thing is, it was so obvious that the pretty young thing was just stunningly pretty, but she was also completely vacuous. She had no idea of anything. And she said, what about this terrible break-in? And he said, the miraculous. I mean, what a miracle. And he was so sarcastic. He said, did you see the painting of Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin, had landed so beautifully with a rosary draped across it? Not a piece of damage. He said it was a miracle. I mean,
Excellent.
It was, and this is why the CCTV sort of question has come up again, because as they say, if there was better CCTV coverage in Parliament, they would have been able to see whether this was a break-in or whether it was just yet another ruse by Chega to get headlines.
But it's begging the questions about hypocrisy, isn't it? I don't know how to what extent CCTV operates in Portugal. We come from a country that is one of the most surveilled in the world, I believe, and I don't know if there's any net gain necessarily in crime. It wouldn't appear so, would it? The amount of unsolved crimes.
Real net gain in crime, because they find they can plot cars that have done dreadful things.
Sure, but apparently a huge percentage of crimes go unsolved, and which doesn't correlate very well with the amount of CCTV in operation in central London, for example. But anyway, that's London. This is Portugal, and I guess the most overwhelming theme here is how
they can't stop crime, but they might be able to help solve it.
Yes, perhaps.
Because if you're going to be knifed, a CCTV camera won't stop that, will it?
That did occur to me one night as I was filling up with petrol and a gang of hoodlums were passing the petrol station. I thought, it's okay, there's plenty of CCTV here. And then I realized probably the best case scenario is getting a presentation video of being attacked. should that occur. It doesn't necessarily, as you say, doesn't necessarily stop anything. It just records what's going on.
Anything.
Yes. Okay, so it looks like MPs for the time being are rejecting closed circuit television, which is what CCTV stands for.
Yeah, which to me, I don't know. I don't know if they've looked over the wall and seen what's been happening in places like England, in America as well. Do you remember there've been quite a few sort of political people who've been shot in their beds, and I think you should take every bit of protection when you're in the public eye.
Yes, well, let's hope that sort of behaviour doesn't reach these shores, and that the presidents will walk without security and mingle among the people. As beautiful as that is, that, as you say, they are very vulnerable in that situation, in heightened in heightened political atmospheres now, which leads us very brilliantly onto what Chega have been up to this week in terms of promoting a video. Which I think, did you describe it as shameful? There was some scorn from you about this.
It was despicable. I said in my note to you, it's absolutely despicable, because what they're doing is they take a little bit like a study that I quote in the article that I wrote about. There was a study saying that they literally depend on taking things out of context and then blasting them over social media and making everybody furious for no good reason at all.
And there's no need for it, is there? There are legitimate concerns around some of the issues that Chega are speaking. So, and there's those issues are big enough and important enough to be discussing in a rational way without this extra layer of inflammatory marketing, I suppose it is, and PR.
Well, I suppose this is the problem with Chega. It may have some legitimate concerns, but the people that it's attracted are totally focused on spurious concerns, and they think that everything is the problem of immigration, which it isn't.
Indeed.
There's a great deal more problems than immigration, and they try and demonize all these immigrants who've come here. Many of them, in this case, this particular business has come here to make a business, and I think it looks like it's obviously made a very good business. I mean, the woman who was talking to, I'm just trying to remember the story, but the woman who was talking to the press after this, she was in tears because it's really affected.
Well, this is the video. I think I've got it on the screen now. Yes, and this was going around not just from Chega, but this was viral, wasn't it? So could you describe what was happening here?
What's happening here is that the owner, who I think, or certainly the manager, this man now that you can see, is asking people who've called one of his members of staff an effing immigrant or an effing... hang on, let me just have a look, because we write too much, we write too much, and I do forget some of the things that they've said, but I think it was an effing immigrant.
Refugee. It was refugee.
Refugee, yes, there you go. So they'd called this poor girl an effing refugee because she couldn't describe the flavors of the shisha available, whatever shisha is.
Oh, that's the pipe, the smoking machine. I'm sure there's a bit of description. Shisha pipes, yes. She
had been unable to describe the flavors. They called her an effing immigrant, and they were then asked to leave because you can't treat people like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then when they left, they did this video. They videoed the man asking them to leave with no context. Yes. And then they made out that they were being asked to leave because they weren't speaking English.
That's right. That's what I read. That's what I heard on social media. That's how it was presented.
What kind of nonsense is that? And then, but the worst part of this is that this video was then shared by high-ranking members of Chega, including one of the MPs who's in charge of parliamentary inquiries. Yeah. He's a councillor in Almada, and he admitted he had no idea whether the video was correct or not in what it was purporting to be about, but he just shared it anyway. Then when he was told that it wasn't about what he had said it was about, he said, oh, well, everybody has their own opinions, and I'm not taking it down until I'm told to by a court. So this video managed to get out to 1.7 million viewers, all of whom thought it was absolutely disgusting, that in Portugal you can't speak the Portuguese language. It was got nothing to do with that.
Yes, indeed.
And I just think,
how sad.
any political party that does that
Yes.
plays on other people's stupidity, basically,
Yes.
it really doesn't have a place.
Yes.
here.
Well, I have my own vulnerabilities with this. I have a Saturday job to attempt to improve my Portuguese. And I'm so apologetic when people come in and I'm just using my basic Portuguese. I'm explaining to people, and I'm aware they must think, this is Portugal. This guy should be speaking Portuguese, and I'm doing my best. And you have to be where you are with it. You can't suddenly be great at it. So you're trying. And I suspect this young person may have been in the same sort of situation. And the answer here is, okay, well, if that's what we want, if we want foreigners to speak Portuguese, let's make it easy for them to learn. Let's help, right? Because many people do want to learn to speak the language. There, I know there are free government courses and so on, but why wouldn't we flood social media with great ways to learn the language rather than this? This is just push the poles apart again, isn't it?
You can go on social media, and I think there are people that claim to be able to teach you Portuguese, in very, very quickly. I don't know, because
we've got a little community of people doing this very thing, Natasha. It's very important to learn the language, and it's a shame that this particular situation ended the way it did. Oh dear. Okay, so well, thank you very much. Cocaine Fest was covered, and the very dark twist that particular.
There'll be an update next week, probably.
Well, I'm sure you'll be writing one quite soon. We have CCTV being rejected by MPs. Let's see where that ends up. It's probably going to get kicked out, isn't it, until it gets prompted by some other thing. And this shameful Chega situation with the social media. And it wasn't just them, to be fair, was it? It was anyone who had an axe to grind in this way who wanted to spin that video the way they wanted it to be seen to make the political point they have.
Exactly. But it does tend to underscore the fact that break-in was probably another load of old baloney like this.
Well, it doesn't help, does it? It doesn't help when you see this this sort of misinformation and deception going on. It really doesn't help people who are trying to make what you could argue are legitimate points. Natasha, have a great weekend. Bon fin semana to you. Thank you for being here. Keep up the great work over at the Portugal Resident. Get the headlines at portugalresident.com. Natasha, I shall see you next week. I think we'll have a guest with us as well. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Take care. Bye-bye.